Good morning. Welcome to another Daily Dose. I have found that I am really good at procrastinating. I started my training at an early age, and I really kind of hit my stride in college. I found that if I had a paper due, I would wait until the very last minute, and the night before, I'd pump out 5, 6, 7 pages, turn it in, I'd get a pretty decent grade, and so I chalked it up to I'm just better under pressure. Well, recently I read a story about someone who was an even better procrastinator than I was, but he had a creative way of overcoming his procrastination. His name was Victor Hugo. Some of you may have heard of him. He's a famous French poet and author. I think most famously he wrote Les Miserables. Now, Victor had written a few books, gained some acclaim, and his publisher had given him a deadline. She said, "I need your book out in the next year." Well, instead of working on his book, he procrastinated. He spent time hanging out with friends, going to parties, writing other things, and so she became frustrated with him and said, "Okay, your new deadline is 6 months. You need to finish your book in 6 months." So, in order to overcome his procrastination, Victor had his assistant lock up all of his clothing into a chest, only leaving him with a blanket. So now, with no clothes, he couldn't go outside, couldn't spend any time with people, and as a result, he finished his novel in 5 months and published one of his most famous pieces of work, The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Now, this morning, I want to spend some time in Matthew 22, verses 36 through 40, and it says, "Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law?" Jesus replied, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment, and the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets hang on these two commandments." Now, I want to focus on the second commandment, love your neighbor as yourself. Some of you might be saying, what does this have to do with procrastination? Well, if you're anything like me, when it comes to loving our neighbors, often I procrastinate. We have great intentions, we may even formulate really good plans, but we don't often act on them. But we are very clearly told to love our neighbors as ourselves. Now, I always plan on taking care of myself. I'm going to eat 3 meals a day. I'm not skipping those. I plan on drinking multiple cups of coffee in a day. I'm not skipping that. But when it comes to loving our neighbors, sometimes I procrastinate and I don't act. And I may have good plans, I just don't do it. Recently, I read a book called Love Does by Bob Goff. And Bob Goff is one of my favorite people who I've never met. But in the book, he tells stories about people who actually act on their love for other people. They love people. They don't just plan, they actually do it. And in the book, in one of the chapters, he says, "In the end, love doesn't just keep thinking about it or keep planning for it. Simply put, love does." That's it. Love does. Love acts. Jesus did the work on the cross to show us how much God loves us. And then he told us to show the world. God's plan for showing the world how much he loves them is us. We are the delivery vehicle that God is using to show the world how much he loves us. We are called to help people discover the good news of Jesus Christ. And one of the ways that we do that is to love our neighbors. And so, friends, my question for us today is, what do we need to lock away? What is getting in the way of loving our neighbors? It's time to stop procrastinating, stop planning, and start loving people. Have a great day.